Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Foreign-born immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean make up about 10% of the black population in America. Some are legal permanent residents, some here on work visas, and some are here as refugees. And some can be deported if the Trump administration decides to send them back to where they came from. There are thousands of Liberians here as a result of a brutal civil war that killed 250,000 people between 1989 and 2003. They are at risk of being deported starting at the end of the month. Here to explain this is Maryum Jordan, Associate Counsel of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Now, Maryum, you are representing a woman. She has been, of course, speaking out. So for the folks at home who don't quite understand, and let's be real clear, you got some black folks out there who are flat out against immigration. They think it's Latinos. They're saying, oh, this hurts black people. But these are people, these are black people, these are people of African descent who could very well been living here for years, who the Trump folks want to simply ship out of the country.
Exactly. And, thank you for pointing out this important issue. I think when we discuss immigration policies here in the United States, it's important to make sure that black immigrants are part of the narrative. I think that given our current climate, it is common for these immigrants to be ignored. And getting back to the DED point, Liberians have been here for roughly 30 years because of armed conflict in their country and the Ebola virus outbreak, and they've received humanitarian parole. And one form of this relief is called Deferred Enforced Departure, or DED, which allows these immigrants to live here lawfully and get work authorization. And I think currently there's about 4,000 Liberians who are benefiting from DED throughout the United States, and they've developed strong ties here. They are homeowners, they have attended universities, they have U.S. citizen children. And the fact that this program is ending, even though it's been supported by 3 different administrations across the party line, it's very concerning. And starting at the end of this month, if the end of DED moves forward as Trump intends, these Liberians could be subjected to deportation and forced to abandon their homes and their jobs and their families here.
And what you have here, you have an administration that has consistently targeted immigrants, especially black immigrants. Trump made his shithole comment, and they do not want to see folks from Liberia, from Sudan, from Haiti, from other African nations. I mean, this is very targeted by this administration.
Yes, exactly. And so my organization, as well as Pro Bono Counsel and our Boston affiliate, have filed this lawsuit challenging the end of DED because, in part, this decision was made because of Trump's racist attitudes towards immigrants of color, especially black immigrants. And the end of the DED program is just part of the program, or the pattern of immigration policies that have unfortunately solely affected immigrants of color. And when you think about all of these statements that President Trump has said before and during his presidency, it's very clear that he has these negative attitudes, spanning from insulting statements about Mexican immigrants, what he said about Central American countries, of course, what he's said about African countries and them being asshole nations. And so I think it's really important to, for this lawsuit to capture what is really happening here, and it's that there is racist attitudes towards immigrants of color, and that President Trump has documented statements indicating that he prefers white or European immigrants to come here instead. It's been documented, he questioned why we don't have more immigrants from countries such as Norway. And so, all of these hurtful comments just show what is at play here, and that racism is playing a huge role in these immigration policies that can harm thousands of people, including thousands of Liberians who will lose their DED status at the end of the month.
Greg Carr, you've got, again, you got black folks out here who are sounding like MAGA supporters, trashing black immigrants and saying, oh, ship them home, ship them home. But this, to me, is illogical, and this is clearly targeting people who look like us.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a silly-minded argument to make. As the Republican Party has shifted to become the party of white supremacy, we trace this back in the post-Reagan era to George W. Bush, in fact, who moved the Liberians off of temporary protected status and put this DED thing in play in the first place, to have it renewed every year and a half or so. The Republican Party has increasingly become a party of white supremacy, and so to our friends and family out there who would make a distinction between Africans anywhere in the world, please be reminded that our open enemies aren't making that distinction. And so when they're not making that distinction, we have to move as Stephen Horford out of Nevada did. I'm thinking about Yvette Clarke in New York. There are many immigrant populations of African people in this country, from the Caribbean, from Latin America, all over Africa, French-speaking Africa, English-speaking Africa. And these Liberians, I remember when the first wave came when I was in college. When you go from Samuel Doe to Prince Johnson to Charles Taylor, all the way up through Ellen Shirley Johnson and now George Weah. Liberia, as it's working to get its act together, America has no problem dropping AFRICOM, all Africa, and so-called chasing terrorism and trying to take natural resources. Damn it, we need to stand up and fight for our family wherever they are in the world. And at this moment, that means keeping these Liberian folks in our family here in the United States of America.
Maryum, what do you want us to do? What do you want the people watching to do?
So I think there's many different ways to target this upcoming end of the DED program. So aside from our lawsuit, there's also the possibility of a legislative fix. And so I think it's really important to urge members of Congress to support legislation that will create a pathway towards permanent residency and citizenship for these Liberian DED holders. And it's really important to understand that DED has benefited immigrants from other countries, and when their status was ending, Congress in the past had found ways to pass legislation that created a pathway towards permanent residency. And I think that given this pattern, I don't see why this Congress can't do the same for Liberian DED holders.
All right, Maryum Jordan with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And anytime Kristen is here, I always tell her she has to make the appeal for folks to support the work that y'all do. So for folks who want to support the Lawyers Committee, what's the website to go to?
Lawyerscommittee.org.
All right, always ask for money, Maryum. Always ask for money.
I'll remember that. Thank you.
Always ask for money. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders, enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline is near March 31st, 2019. Go to fgb.life, fgb.life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our community, and we certainly thank them for being a partner here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.